Welcome back to the deep dive. Sometimes the biggest truths in a really complex text are actually hidden in the shortest moments, these really intense confrontations.
Hmm.
And today we're doing a deep dive that's tailored for you, and we're focusing on just 4 powerful words spoken by an enemy. Have you come to destroy us?
That's the electrifying moment right there,
Hmm.
Mark 1.24. I mean, Jesus has just walked into the synagogue in Capernaum
Yeah,
and started teaching.
right.
And the sources we looked at, they all highlight this instant recognition. You have the crowd, and they're marveling at his authority.
Yeah.
But the spiritual forces in the room, they are not marveling.
No, they're panicking.
They're absolutely panicking.
Exactly. And this isn't some subtle debate. It's an immediate, profound declaration of war against the kingdom of darkness, which it forces us to ask a really tough question.
What's that?
In that moment, the second Jesus steps onto the public stage, why did the devil's forces seem to have better, faster, and more complete theology than the actual disciples who were following him?
It's so true.
Yeah.
The human observers are all sitting there wondering, who is this teacher?
Yeah.
But the spiritual realm, they knew. Instantly, they knew his name, his origin, and his entire mission. And that brings us to our main goal today, to unpack the meaning, the context, and the modern relevance of that unclean spirit's terrified question. It's demanding to know if Jesus had finally arrived for their destruction.
So let's unpack this, starting with that terrifying clarity of vision. The sources all draw this really crucial line. The man himself, the person sitting in the synagogue, he had no idea who was standing in front of him.
Right, he's just a member of the community.
He's probably confused,
Yeah.
oppressed maybe, but just
Yeah.
there. But the spirit possessing him, it knew everything. It knew where Jesus came from, who he was, and exactly why he had shown up.
It's the ultimate hostile witness, isn't it? The
Mhm.
spirit is forced to cry out the full quote, almost in spite of itself. You can hear the panic. What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God.
Okay, wait a minute. That raises a question for me. If the demon is so committed to deception, to fighting Jesus, why is it forced to reveal such profound truth in a public place? Why confirm his power?
That is a brilliant question. And the answer is that the enemy's involuntary confession is actually proof of Jesus' absolute authority.
He didn't ask for a testimony.
No, he didn't. The demon was compelled to give one. And if we just break down that one panicked sentence, you get 3. I mean, just seismic truths about Jesus that are suddenly revealed.
So give us the 3 truths that the enemy provides right there.
Okay, so first, the recognition is that Jesus is from God. He's not just a carpenter or some prophet from Nazareth. The Spirit knew his divine origin.
Mm-hmm.
Second, it calls him the Holy One, which means he is utterly pure, totally set apart, and completely incompatible with the corruption and darkness the Spirit operates in.
And the third truth is the purpose. The demon gets it instantly.
Instantly.
Jesus has come to destroy the entire kingdom of darkness. It wasn't really asking a question, was it? It was recognizing an existential threat.
That's right. While the human leaders are debating his teaching style, the forces of evil recognize Jesus instantly as the absolute inevitable authority that signals their doom. Right then. Right there.
It just confirms that what's happening is so much bigger than just another Sabbath teaching.
So much bigger.
And that recognition, that shifts the whole conversation to the scope of the threat, which is all rooted in that tiny, terrifying word, us.
Yes. That's the critical pivot point in this whole analysis. When the demon yells, "Destroy us," the sources all emphasize this is not a personal individual fear.
So the spirit isn't just talking about the man it possesses.
Not at all. Nor is it talking about the physical people in the synagogue.
Okay, so if it's not the individual, this means the single demon in that room is speaking on behalf of a collective, right?
Precisely. Us refers to the entire demonic realm, the whole kingdom of darkness under Satan's authority. That one unclean spirit knows it speaks for the entire collective. It understands that its power, and the power of its entire dominion, is temporary. It's already doomed simply because the Holy One of God has walked into the room. It's a collective declaration of panic.
To really get that level of existential panic, we need to connect this moment back to this spiritual history the sources lay out for us. We're talking about humanity's position since the very beginning.
Absolutely. You have to go all the way back to the fall of Adam. The sources remind us that through deception and sin, Satan gained this spiritual access and held humanity captive in a vast global bondage.
So people were trapped in a system they couldn't escape.
Right. It's not just a collection of bad decisions people were making.
It's a structure, a systematic structure of oppression.
That's the key distinction. I mean, look at the thousands of years covered in the Old Testament. No matter how devout the people or how wise the leaders, the sources all stress that no human being could break those deep foundational chains of darkness on their own.
They might manage their behavior for a bit, but they couldn't conquer the underlying spiritual problem.
It's exactly. The history of mankind is basically a story of longing for deliverance while being utterly helpless to achieve it.
So when Jesus walks into that synagogue that day, it's not just the start of some new religious movement.
Right.
It's the climax of thousands of years of that longing. It is the arrival of the promised deliverance.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the demon's recognition of Jesus as the destroyer, well, it means the age of helplessness is over. This is the one stronger than Satan, as other texts describe him.
He's finally arrived to decisively break the chain.
It's like a colossal prison door just being blasted wide open.
And what defines this shift in the power dynamic is the sheer, overwhelming simplicity of Jesus' action. He doesn't need incantations or rituals or even a physical fight.
The power dynamic is absolute. Jesus just speaks a command, and the accumulated spiritual power of darkness, which held humanity captive for millennia, has to instantly comply.
That shows a level of authority that's just. It's beyond human comprehension.
And certainly beyond any other spiritual claimant.
So the demon's cry, "You've come to destroy us," it's really less of a question and more of a statement of terrified, instantaneous realization. This moves us into the confirmation of Jesus's ultimate purpose, which the source material ties directly to 1 John 3:8. It says, "The Son of God appeared for this purpose, to destroy the works of the devil." And this is where we have to slow down and make a crucial distinction really, really clear.
We absolutely must. We have to clarify what that word destroy actually applies to. Because while the demon fears destruction, and it should, its power is being destroyed, Jesus did not come to destroy people.
He came to save them.
Yes.
He came to destroy the works. We're talking about the structure of spiritual bondage, the oppression, the darkness, the chains. But his purpose is always the restoration of the person.
Right. The man in the synagogue wasn't the enemy in this fight. He was a hostage.
Collateral damage.
He was collateral damage in this ongoing spiritual conflict. Jesus came specifically to break the demon's hold, to restore the identity and the image of God in his creation. I mean, think of it this way. A rescuer comes into a building. They might have to collapse the scaffolding of the kidnapper, but they carry the victim out safely. Jesus destroys the darkness that has a grip on the person, but he redeems the person themselves.
That is a fundamental, profound difference between, divine judgment on evil and divine love for the broken.
It is.
And the authority displayed here is just. It's truly awe-inspiring. When Jesus commands the spirit to leave, there's no negotiation, no argument, zero resistance.
It just has to obey immediately. The finality of the command is key. It shows that no bondage, no matter how deep, how complex, or how long-standing it is, can withstand the simple command of the Holy One of God.
And that raises a really profound and necessary question for us today, doesn't it? What does that absolute non-negotiable authority mean for the parts of our own lives where we feel bound by something we just can't overcome?
And that connects this ancient moment directly to the listener's modern experience.
This story is definitely not just about a single exorcism in ancient Capernaum. The sources suggest this event acts as a perfect blueprint for what Jesus intends to do and, continues to do in human hearts today.
Right. We may not have a dramatic, externally manifested unclean spirit, but every single one of us grapples with internal forces that oppress us.
And these forces, they often masquerade as normal behavior, but they act exactly like a spiritual bondage.
Exactly.
I mean, we're talking about chronic shame that whispers you're worthless. We're talking about corrosive anger that acts like a poison. We're talking about those deep-seated, hidden habits, addictive loops, and destructive fears that just feel bigger than our ability to control them.
They are forces, whether you categorize them as purely psychological or spiritual, that create an internal landscape of oppression. And this is where the analogy with the man in the synagogue becomes so powerful. Well, the man could not free himself. His will was totally irrelevant against the spiritual force that had seized him. And in the same way, we often discover that against our own deep-seated internal darkness, that chronic fear, that destructive habit, our own willpower, our sheer self-effort, it eventually fails.
We try to break those chains with our own human effort, but the problem is just too big. We're our own victim, but we're also our own jailer, and we realize we need an external, overwhelming power to step in.
Exactly. We need someone stronger than the struggle. We need the Holy One of God to destroy what is actively destroying us. And the fight to break these chains with just human resolve it's noble, but it's ultimately not enough against the deep-rooted nature of this bondage.
The sources, in painting this picture of liberation, they summarize the core promise beautifully. We are freed not by determination, but by invitation.
Hmm. Only He has the authority to step into that internal conflict and set us free from the shame, the fear, or the destructive habits that bind our hearts.
Only He can silence those voices of internal darkness. The lies, the accusations, the feelings of futility that whisper constantly and undermine who we are.
And only the one who commanded the spirit out of the man at Capernaum has the authority to break chains that may have held us captive for decades. Chains we got so used to, maybe we forgot they were even there.
The core truth that the demon feared is still the greatest source of hope for us today. Where Jesus enters, darkness must vacate the premises.
It has to.
This story isn't just a display of ancient authority. It is fundamentally a promise of liberation for the oppressed human heart.
It's a reminder that if the struggle you're facing feels bigger than you need a power that is, without question, bigger than that struggle.
So what does this all mean for you? When you encounter this text, the sources consistently paint Jesus as a relentless liberator from the very moment he stepped into ministry, his entrance into a person's life. It's never for condemnation.
Never.
It's always for liberation. He doesn't come to destroy you, the person. He comes with absolute authority to destroy what is destroying you.
And the final synthesis from this incredible confrontation, it really highlights the deep irony, the enemy, the very force of bondage. It knows the power and purpose of Jesus better and faster than any human observer.
Yeah.
The immediate, fearful, non-negotiable compliance of that spirit just underscores his absolute authority over every form of bondage, spiritual and internal.
So it leaves you with a really profound question, doesn't it?
It does.
If the demon's recognition of Jesus was that instantaneous, that absolute, if it knew right away the game was up, what does that mean for your own understanding of the chains you're still fighting? The invitation from the source material is just, it's so clear.
It's an open door.
It is. If you invite the Holy One of God into that space, that place where you feel bound, he will do for you exactly what he did for the man in the synagogue. He will exercise his absolute authority to set you free.